Hello, I'm talking about One Piece live action season 2 today. I wanted to talk about some things that I just kind of want to see, like changes I want to see made, or maybe some like semi predictions. I'm also playing Fausto in the background. You should play Fausto, it's pretty fun. First thing I wanted to talk about, I'm gonna go in order of arcs. We left off season 1 on Logetown. There were some parts of Logetown that got adapted, but nothing actually on the town. First thing I just want changed, can they make it clear what Dragon did? Like, it would be very nice to know, because it's been in contention for what, like 20, 25 years, however long One Piece, or however long since Logetown happened. Like, we don't even know if he has a Devil Fruit. We don't know if he has a Paramecia or a Logia or a Mythical Zone. If he does have a Devil Fruit at all, we don't know. If he has Haki, maybe we could see him hit Smoker directly. That would be pretty cool and impressive, especially because we're going to see Luffy and Sanji and Zoro all attack Smoker and nothing is going to work. And so the viewer is going to be like, okay, well, how are you even supposed to fight this guy? And then you see... this is Porsche. I'm not really paying attention to Fausto. Then you just see Dragon do it, and you're like, okay, this guy's a big deal, you know? So that's just what I want to see for Dragon. He doesn't need to do anything else. He can have just as much screen time as he had in the original. I just want that screen time to be clearer. Next, Sendai Katetsu's, like, the sword that Zoro got, the cursed one that he spun in the air and it could have chopped off his arm. He had like a 50-50 shot. Is this Moria? I kind of want that to be like changed a little. It was like a scary cursed sword, according to the guy in the store. But that was never like relevant ever. Like, the most dangerous that sword ever got was just when Zoro flipped it in the air and he had a 50% chance of cutting his arm off, and like any sword would do that. It doesn't have to be cursed. And like, it's just not grounded. Because I feel like the live action is a lot more grounded than the anime. Obviously, anime and cartoons has a lot of very, like, just unnatural things that this shit happens and they don't need to explain it. You're like, oh, it's just anime logic, you know? But when it comes to live action, if you say that the sword is cursed, you have to follow through with that. And I don't want them to have to follow through with that. They can just get rid of it. It's just a normal sword. Maybe you can have it be like... I don't know what I was gonna say, like, have some famous previous swordman has used it and that's why it's so special, but then you're like adding too much new stuff. It can just be a sword, really. It was never anything more than that in the anime. Next, Smoker's introduction, don't change it at all. That's something I just wanted to say. It's such a perfect introduction. I think most people would agree it's one of their favorite character introductions, and it can stay the way it is. But you know what is gonna be different? I think Alvida is gonna be hard to handle. I'm just gonna come out and say it. The only reason Alvida was given a Devil Fruit, it was a bitch-ass excuse from Oda because he didn't want to draw a fat character. That is what it was. Because she never uses her Devil Fruit for any combat capabilities or just like anything interesting. It was literally all it did was change the shape of her body, which, first of all, in hindsight, doesn't even make sense. Devil Fruits don't like do that. Hold on, let's look at the Suba Suba no Mi. I remember in trivia there was like a section of... Right. First Devil Fruit to permanently alter a person's appearance as a side effect. There were 3 others. The Pawpaw Fruit, which Kuma has, which barely changed him. It changed his hands a little bit. The Hobby Hobby no Mi, which doesn't actually change you, it stops you from changing. This is Sugar's like toy Devil Fruit, and it stopped her from aging. So she looks 10, but she's really 23. And then, I was doing so good, I forget the name of this one. Right, Vegapunk. It doesn't like directly change your appearance, because you have to like do something to make your brain bigger. You know, you have to actually learn. And so it's weird. It was already out of place to begin with, but The change I want to propose here is that Alvida never obtains a Devil Fruit. It doesn't matter. It's not relevant. It's just information that's going to be too much for the viewer. Because, like, you know, there's a lot going on in One Piece that might be hard for general audiences to handle when it's live action. Because, like, in Season 1, they had to, like, get rid of Radiate arc entirely. They changed it to, like, extended Arlong Park, pretty much. Because there was too much going on. There were too many villains, like, introducing Don Krieg and Jan and Pearl and all that shit is too much. So, just get rid of Alvida's Devil Fruit. The fact that she's showing up again was already a stretch in the original. She could have just disappeared and no one would have noticed. Yeah, and as I said, just like a lot of the important parts, or like some parts of Loguetown already happened, you know? Like, I think the biggest scene is obviously the execution, but I feel like a lot of there's like the scene with the barrel, everyone puts their foot on the barrel and says their dream. It's like, we already did that. And so that was a pretty important scene in the original, and so it doesn't need to be adapted anymore. Reverse Mountain, let's talk about Reverse Mountain. Can they just show us Brook, please? Let me log into Festival for a second. I haven't been playing. A zone with no hockey but does have a bounty. I want to say something from, like, Wano, but I think in Tobiropo all had hockey. Let's just speed this along a little. You are from the Grand Line. Okay. You're Logia. We will get back to that after I talk about Reverse Mountain. Yeah, can they just show us Brook? Because, like, we've already seen from, like, some pre-release content, some leaks, that they're doing more with the Rumbar Pirates than was originally done. Like, and the Rumbar Pirates ship was, like, the first thing we ever saw. Like, even before Season 2 was officially confirmed, or, like, before any casting announcements or anything, we saw their ship in some leaks off the coast of South Africa, which was cool. It's huge. They literally, like, built a ship for this, which is awesome. Yeah, I hope they extend that flashback a little, because Reverse Mountain's pretty short. You can extend some flashbacks, or you can add one. I think something that really needs to be added, they can't go forever without mentioning that Shanks was a member of the Roger Pirates. They just they skipped that in Season 1, but it's, like, crucial information. You can't hold off on that until... when is that relevant? I don't know. But, like, oh yeah, Impel Down or Marineford, one of those, it would become relevant. And you can't hold off the entire time. Like, come on. It doesn't make sense. Back to Fausto, Logia user. I guess you could also be... No, you can't be Blackbeard. Or, like, a null-type Devil Fruit user. That doesn't work, because your bounty's too low. I mean, you're alive. You have no... Okay, what? Okay, male Logia... Let's go through them all. We had Smoker, who obviously has hockey. Crocodile. He has hockey. Yeah. Ace. He's dead, sorry. And then all the admirals, they obviously have hockey. Their bounties are too high. Kuzan's is unknown, so it would be registered as 1, but he has hockey. Monet's a woman. I'm sure I'm out of order. Who am I missing? Let's go through arcs. So we had... Oh, you know what? No, you... Okay, you can't be Anno. Right. I'm stupid. You're after Thriller Bark. Okay. So we could start with, like... And we kind of have to go... Oh, you're Caribou. You're Caribou. No? You're above this, but this is a very specific bounty. It's weird. Okay, well, between Return to Saba... So we have Punk Hazard, Oh, Punk Hazard. Caesar Clown's bounty is exactly 300 million. Okay. Well, I'm gonna stop playing Faustro. I'm gonna pay attention to this. Yeah, we should just reveal Shanks was on Roger's crew. Crocus, he could mention like, oh, I recognize your Straw Hat, Luffy. Roger had, or not Roger. Well, Roger did have it, and then he gave it to Shanks, so, you know, he could really say anything. And then, this is more of a prediction than something I want. I don't really care either way, but let's face it, Luffy's not gonna, like, paint the Straw Hat logo on Laboon. That's another, like, weird anime logic thing that just doesn't work. He's not an artist. It's an incredibly large surface for him to paint. There's no paint on the ship. Why would they have paint? There might be some left over after Usopp made the flag, but it doesn't make sense, and it's not necessary. Luffy could just like talk to Laboon and say, hey, stop killing yourself, stop hitting your head on the big rock, and that can be enough, you know? And then just the last thing I wanted to talk about with Traverse Mountain, Mr. 9 and Vivi don't need to be there. We can just wait. Like, just wait until Whiskey Peak. That's literally... I mean, 9... First of all, I think 9 probably gets removed, because his casting has not been revealed yet. Which is, like... It's a little odd, you know? Yeah, because we've had so many casting reveals. Okay, you happen to be a Paramecia, interesting. We've had just so many casting reveals. I feel like if Mr. 9 hasn't been... Wait, actually, has he? Am I just, like, lying? Portrayed by... Oh, shit. Right, no, I do remember this. Okay, my bad. I'm all over the place. But just back to my original point, he doesn't need to be in Reverse Mountain. You can wait till Whiskey Peak, because he doesn't do anything in Reverse Mountain. Doesn't really do anything in Whiskey Peak either. But, like, Reverse Mountain is enough with just Laboon and Crocus, especially if we introduce the Shanks backstory, flashback, and Buggy. It's just, they can wait. And then when we actually get to Whiskey Peak, I think this is, like, the best arc for live action. Like, of all the ones in East Blue Saga and all the ones in Arabasta Saga, Whiskey Peak is, like, the least amount of change that's needed. But here's something that does need to change. It doesn't need to change, but for the sake of staying consistent with Season 1, some things need to change. Big thing Season 1 did is actually, unlike One Piece, kill some characters. Mary died, not the ship, the guy. He died because he wasn't relevant for the rest of the story. He was allowed to die and it just wasn't important. And like, who else? There must have been someone else. Oh yeah, Don Krieg, I guess. I guess you can't really see where I'm typing. I'm searching who died. One Piece live action list of deaths wiki. That's easy. List of deaths wiki. There's just some weird shit on fandom. Look, can you see the recommended? There's just someone's cat here. Can I just put anything on this? That can't be true. Mihawk killed 5. I guess that is true. How long did he die? Oh no, he killed someone, right? He killed that one Marine captain. Okay, this is... Yeah, but like, significantly more people died than in the original. Usopp fucking killed someone? What? Okay. No, let's look into this. You can't... That doesn't count, man. That doesn't count. Named characters. Actually... Oh my god, wait, no. I guess he did die. Yeah, no, I guess that works. that works. Yeah, Arlong died, Chu... Yeah, it makes sense that he would be dead. I guess a lot of these are probably this wiki writer making a few assumptions. But, like, Mary died. You know, we can kill some characters. And I think if we're gonna kill characters in Season 2, here's who's gonna die. Number 1 pick is Igaram. You know, in the original, Robin blew up his ship while he was, like, a mile off the coast, and he was just, like, fine. How's that? He just, like, floated back to Whiskey Peak, and then got on another ship that wasn't there, and, like, sailed to Alabasta? What? It didn't make any sense that Igaram survived. So that guy probably is cooked. And we're going a little bit off of Whiskey Peak here. That was really all I want to talk about with Whiskey Peak. So here's who else could die. Dalton, the mayor of... Was he the mayor during Drum Island? Whatever, I don't care. But, you know, he's the first Zoan. He's the moose? Is he a moose? You know who Dalton is. He could die just because he's, like, the one character who isn't relevant. Because, like, Season 1 had a bunch of random characters like Mary or Chu who just, like, didn't show up again. They can die, it's fine. But Season 2, like the Arabasta Saga, there's not a lot of civilians, you know? Because, like, Reverse Mountain, Crocus, and Nine... What was Nine's name? He didn't have a name. Crocus, Nine, and Vivi, and Laboon are just, like, the only living things. And then you get to Whiskey Peak, the bounty hunters are the only living things. When you get to Little Garden, there's dinosaurs, I guess. But Dory Brogy and Gaudino and Marianne, Jem, Makita, these are, like, the only people, you know? Only relevant characters. There's no, like, civilians anywhere. So here's who's gonna die. Igaram, maybe Dalton. Like, Igaram for sure. Dalton, if you, like, really need to kill someone, if Netflix is like, okay, pump those numbers up, you gotta get someone else so we can, I don't know, have some cool reactions online. And then here's who else could die. This might sound like it would be a huge change for the story, but it's really not. You could kill one of Dory or Brogy. You only need one, you know? It's just like, here's like, if, like, Dory dies but Brogy survives, the story just continues, like, in the manga. Like, you get to Oimo and Kashi, you know, that doesn't change. That can still work, and then you get to Elbaf and it still works. And if anything, it would be cool to make Brogy or Dory closer to Jarl, because, you know, the Giant Warrior Pirates that always have two captains, used to be Yaru and Yorl. Jarl and Yorl, they're just hard to say. And then, of course, Yorl died, and Jarl retired because Yorl died, and now Dory and Brogy are the captains. And so if one of them dies, it's like the cycle is continuing. Might as well throw out a manga prediction right now. It's probably going to be Hyruden and Loki next cycle around. Actually, it's entirely possible that Dory or Brogy or both are going to die in this arc in the manga. But this isn't about the manga. We're talking about the live action, so let's forget about that. But no, it could work. It seems like a huge change, but it could work, and it would make a lot of sense because they've been fighting for 100 years, and they got their ass kicked by Gaudino. It just makes sense. Another thing about Little Garden, Jem and Makita, these are Mr. Five and Miss Valentine, they could just not return. Whiskey Peak could just be their last appearance in the show, and that would be fine. They didn't add a lot to Little Garden, and there's just a lot of characters. This isn't I don't really want this per se, but I would be fine with this change if they just didn't show up. Like, they weren't threats, and if anything, it makes Gaudino more threatening if this is the way it plays out. Because then you just have him putting in the amount of work that used to be him and Jem and Makita. Marianne is also there, she's Miss Golden Week. and let's lead into her. Here's the deal. Anime logic, again, the way her paint worked in the original was just like, it just worked. She just put paint on you and it like hypnotized you into doing stuff. And that's just, it doesn't work in live action. I don't see any world where they just allow that to happen. And so there's two solutions. Either you have her do nothing, which is stupid because she's already been cast. Like, there's no reason for her to exist if she isn't actually a threat. The other thing that could happen, this might stray too far from the original, because now we're like, it's like a slippery slope if we start doing this. What if they gave her a devil fruit? What if they make up the paint fruit and just give her that? This character is Baby 5. Damn. Oh, right, you were introducing Punk Hazard. Oh, I'm an idiot. I thought you were Dressrosa. Well, who was in Dressrosa? Were there any other women? Oh, there was, Giola. Close, but no cigar. Actually... Funny that I mentioned the paint fruit and then start talking about Giola, because now that I think about it, she has the art fruit, and so that could cause an issue, but they work differently, and there's a lot of similar devil fruits, so it wouldn't be a huge issue. Okay, well, who else was on the Don Quixote Pirates? I can't think of the women. Baby 5 and Giola, and who else? I'm losing my mind here. I'm gonna have to think about that for a little bit. Still in Little Garden, dinosaurs existing was the second thing we learned about season 2. We learned about the Rumbar Pirates ship first, and then on April 1st, 2024, question mark, smiley face, Usopp's actor Jacob Romero, question mark? That's his name, yes. He released a video confirming dinosaurs, and that was really it. And so they're probably going to be more relevant than they were in the original. Just that's my logic, and also because it's a pretty fantastical thing to just throw in the background that Dory and Bogey are killing while Luffy and Usopp are talking to them. I feel some more focus needs to be on that, because it's a pretty huge deal that there's just dinosaurs still. So I'm just thinking maybe the Straw Hats fight a couple dinosaurs before they meet Dory and Bogey. Have just a challenging fight for them, I guess, before the real fight in that arc. Mr. Prince, another instance where we don't need to change anything. That whole scene is just, it's peak, it's gas, don't touch it at all. Drum Island. This is the last arc, question mark, smiley face. We'll talk about it after this. And just the way that this is, having Drum Island be the last arc of the season instead of Alabasta, it makes sense on paper. You get more time for Alabasta because there's only so many episodes in a season. Trying to include all of Arabasta Saga and Logtown would just take too much, and I get that. But the problem with this is that it just ends on Drum Island. The first 5 arcs, or what is it, if this season is 10 episodes, the first 8 episodes, the main antagonist is Baroque Works. And then you get to Drum Island, and they just disappear entirely. The main antagonist that they've been setting up the whole season. It doesn't work. I don't see a world where Netflix, or whatever higher powers that be, Gorosei, in charge of this, just let that happen, I think Baroque Works is going to be more involved in Drum Island than in the original, which was them not being involved at all. So here's some ways that this could work. first and most possible is that the Viking Pirates, which are the name of Wapple's crew, they did have a name that wasn't the Wapple Pirates, by the way. They're just connected to Baroque Works somehow. They've cut some sort of deal. He's not like Mr. 1.5 or anything, but they could just be allies. Because like most Warlord crews had some allies of some sort, or actually maybe not a lot of Warlords, but the Emperors for sure. It's a common thing. Pirate alliances, they're common. And so I could see Wapple just having some ties to Baroque Works. Like, Luffy, the Straw Hat Pirates arrive, and Wapple's looking for them already. He already got the news about these guys from Whiskey Peak. You know, of course, they get their, not pictures taken, they have images taken of them, caricatures made by the rodent, who's probably not going to appear this season. So that's one way you could do it. Just have Wapple be part of Baroque Works in some way. Or the other way it could happen, this is less likely, have Wapple be like a fake out, easy, silly villain. Like, you know how a lot of newer post-time skip arcs, there's like the first thing that Luffy fights for a while, and then the real thing happens. Like, Whole Cake Island, it started, and he started fighting Cracker. And it was like a full all-out fight. It could have, like, if it was a pre-time skip arc, he would have beaten Cracker and the arc would have ended. He would have just left. But that's not how it works in post-time skip. I think Wapple could be that for Drum Island if it had to be done, and then you have either just Baroque Works shows up again with more people. You could have Bentham or Das Bones show up a little early. No, that doesn't make sense. They weren't cast yet. Maybe they're trying to be secrets, but who knows? That could work. Just have Wapple only be the villain in half the arc, and then something else comes up later. Maybe even Blackbeard. Because Blackbeard did raid Drum Island. I forget if it was before or after Luffy got there, which is probably pretty important information that I should know. I think it was before. So they could... that's another thing. They should probably bring up the Blackbeard thing a little more, because that's going to be very big in the coming seasons. That's going to be like it's... The Blackbeard and Ace conflict is like the main overarching conflict of pre-time skip. Like, it starts in Drum Island, and it continues constantly every arc until pre-time skip ends, pretty much. So that's something that, you know, needs to maybe be, like, amped up a little. Let's switch the music up. What is this? Mario Kart music to study or clear your mind, exclamation point. Cool. Where was I? Right. And then the other thing that could happen, even if Wapple isn't a member of Baroque Works, or Baroque Works doesn't show up, if they genuinely do just throw out Baroque Works for the last 2 or 3 episodes of the season, can Wapple just be a little more serious? Because the tone of live action is already more serious than the original, obviously. And Wapple was just a joke in the original. Like, more so than all the other silly fights that happen. There's gags in every fight in the original, but Wapple's entire existence was a joke. It doesn't make sense, especially, of course, when we're at the final arc of the season. He should be more serious, he should be threatening. Adapt that episode of Chopper Plus type shit, where he actually succeeds in making his island-destroying cannon, and he has a brother who is mushrooms. Brother who's mushrooms. It could work. Okay, I'm being a little silly here, but something should be changed. Maybe Chess and Hey M, as he's called now. They changed his name from Kuromarimo. He's just being referred to as KM, according to the casting announcement, which is fine, because it's a little weirder to call him Black Mossball, which is what Kuromarimo means, when he's actually a black guy. It's a, little racist undertones there. So just call them KM. Yeah, that works. Have them be stronger, because they also were jokes even more than Wapol. They were literally, like, they could have been in the Mountain Bandits in East Blue and, like, the Romance Dawn flashback, and Child Luffy could have beaten them then. Like, if Chess kidnapped Luffy instead of Higuma, Shanks does not lose his arm in that scenario. What is this song? This is Sunshine Airport, right? I forgot about Faustol entirely. Let me just put this on the music on the screen. Actually, no, here's Notepad. This is what I've been reading from, by the way. And at the very bottom, question mark, there's the Drum Island section, Little Garden section, Whiskey Peak section, question mark. They cast Crocodile, and that needs to be talked about. Because if things were accurate to how they were in the original, not just, like, obviously things are going to be different in just the way people talk and maybe what characters show up and what arcs, but, like, if Crocodile was cast for a season that ends at Drum Island, something is hugely changed. Because he is only a silhouette until then. Like, they've been giving him press, like a lot of press, Joe Manganiello. He has to play a huge role. Now, I don't believe that they're gonna have him just like chilling at Whiskey Peak, spawn camping. I mean, the whole point of Whiskey Peak is to spawn camp new pirates, turn in their bounties, and that's probably where Crocodile got a lot of his money. But I doubt he's gonna be there, but, like, where is he? What is he doing? Why is he cast? Because, like, you would expect that it's just like a post-credit scene, honestly, if they were gonna follow the original structure. So I think what they could do is show some scenes that occur on Arvasta before the Straw Hat Pirates get there. Like, maybe near the end, you show a scene where, like, at the beginning of Arvasta, he defeats they were never actually named, but the pig-themed pirates, and everyone loved him. And that's another thing I want to talk about. In Season 2 and 3 and 11, everything going forward, I want them to play up the plot point where the warlords were supposed to be, like, loved by everyone. Like, when Crocodile was introduced during that, like, pig pirates fight, it was like, he's a superhero, basically. The 7 warlords of the sea are like a team of superheroes. They're officially sponsored by the world government, so people like them. They're pirates that fight pirates. They make the world safer. And that's how it was for Crocodile's introduction, and then it, like, stopped, you know? They kind of stopped just doing that at all. And it might be hard to do it in the live action because Koby already, like, hates the warlord system. We've already seen, like, Koby's opinion on it. Oh, the character was Sugar. Fuck, I already talked about Sugar in this video, dude. The Faustol character. I already talked about Sugar. I'm an idiot. But yeah, I hope they do that a little more. Some, like, I hate to mention this, but make it kind of like The Boys, where, you have the 7 and everyone likes them. Or actually, even closer to, like, the end of The Boys, where it becomes a 50-50, like, political divide among the world, whether or not you like the 7 warlords of the sea. That could be interesting, because it happens a little bit in, like, Dressrosa, where it's like, Iso likes them, Sakazuki likes them, Iso doesn't. They fight, and then the reverie happens, and Cobra and Rikujoro III make it happen so the warlords don't exist anymore, and it's cool. But like if we could have some more conflict about whether or not the warlords are good or bad, like leading through that, or just show some more people liking the warlords, that would be nice. That would be really cool. It happens in Dressrosa obviously a ton because all the people who don't like Doflamingo literally are erased from history, like the timeline ever existing. Also, thanks to Sugar, who I forgot earlier. Oh, she used the fruit on herself. That's how it happened. That's how I threw. Um, that's pretty much everything I had to talk about. That was my last point. Just having the warlords maybe being loved a little more by citizens, because Crocodile and Doflamingo are like the only ones who really have like a country. I mean, actually, no, scratch that. Hancock has a country, and she's loved by everyone there, but not by like everyone else in the world is kind of scared of her. Or like, I mean, no, men are attracted to her, but not in like a she's a good person way. Is just in they want to fuck her. Um, but like Kuma and Mihawk, they don't even have people who could like them. you know, so a little harsh, but it's true. So actually, it was kind of a weird thing to even mention in Crocodile's introduction. If it was going to be like every warlord has a country of their own, like Crocodile and Doflamingo, then that would have been like big. That could have been crazy. But yeah, that's all I had to talk about. Those are just changes that I want to see in One Piece season 2 and maybe 3 and maybe 4. Who knows? Um, I'll probably make reactions to every episode when the season comes out. I think we just got a generic 2025 release date. We didn't really get any more detail than that. Oh shit. The music. It hasn't been playing? Oh my god, I have to add it in post. You're kidding me.